Hello, 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 hello. Look at this paint. Oh, that's nice. Look at that. Sweet. Sweet paint. Sweet, delicious paint. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I like paint. Paint's great. Check this out. This is what I use. Liquitex Basic Acrylics. So basically, this is what I use. Let me open this up. Hey, it's an unboxing. Liquitex is great because it doesn't clump, and it's like kind of cheap. Not like cheap, but like the price is decent. If you buy one tube of this, it'll run you like $5-6, maybe $5 at the most, maybe. That's a good size tube. Goldens are really nice, but they're expensive. Oh, I don't really know any other brands. Really? I mean, no, I know Liquitex and these brands, and then those tiny little craft bottles. Those are good for, like, you know, little projects like outside crafting stuff, but not really paintings because they go bad really easy and they clump up, and they're great for learning. But these blend really well, and they're really reliable. And the thing that I like about these the most is that they always have deals on them on Amazon for them. And then the cool thing is that the lid stays on there. That's my favorite, that it actually stays there. You don't lose it. You don't lose the lid. And then it closes up and seals up. Oh, it's so clean like that. You know, and I tried using, there was a deal on Amazon to get the same stuff but in a jar. And what ended up happening is that I opened and closed this so many times that it just started getting all thick, coagulated. It got thick. And so I wouldn't recommend that unless you're gonna, it's cheaper. It's like $1 cheaper. But I wouldn't recommend it unless you're gonna use like the whole jar that day for a project or something. Because, yeah, it makes more sense, you know. You could just use like the whole thing. Like a whole canvas, one color or something. Don't do that. All right. So then we got the. Hold on. Let me put some music over here. I'm gonna put the picture in the bathroom. Get that out of here. All right. So we got all this paint. Now I'm gonna talk to you about paint just a little bit. I'm gonna use this blue. When I started painting, I usually just go with one color. At least lately, this is what I'm doing. As I start with one color, I'll sketch it out, get my idea wherever I want it. Then I'll take one color and just put it right on the canvas. And then take a bunch of water, kind of thin it out, fill it in here. And then what I'm doing is I'm putting it on there real thin so that I could still see the sketch underneath. So I'm gonna wet it down. This is just one way of painting. You don't have to do it like this. This is just something I'm doing right now for the video. And then I'll show you the next step. So paint is, you know, the one thing that I never heard anyone say was like how much paint to use. Because when I first started painting, I put too much paint on the canvas. I put way too much, and it clumped up. And then when you go to like paint over it, you get all these brush strokes, and it kind of gets in the way. And you're like, what the heck? So one trick I learned is you could take sandpaper to those clumps, those brush strokes. That way you could paint over them, or gesso over it. That's another way. Or you could just paint really, really thin in multiple layers. And that's the way I like to paint. You just paint really, really thin like this. Just put on some really thin layers, and then you just build it up. That way there's no clumping up and brush strokes going on. For me, it's a little quicker. And when I first started painting, I did a lot of paintings like that, just real direct, different colors straight on the canvas. I'm like, over here is gonna go green, and over here is gonna be blue. But now I just really like to fill up the whole canvas with paint, to where it's really full. So when I start off, I like to just fill it with color and then build up on top of that. But I put it on really thin so that I can see the drawing. You guys might not be able to, but I can still see it. I think the camera's not very good picking it up. You just want to get that layer really thin, you can stick some water on it and pull some of that paint off, just so you can see the drawing better. And just pencil works. Usually doesn't smear away for me too bad. It does a little bit. Alright, okay, and then I'll let that dry and then go with white paint and just like start filling in all the areas of the drawing that I want to like bring out. So there's some boots down here. I'll just fill that in with white. Here's his legs and all that, just going up from the bottom to the top. Just fill it in with white. And go all the way through like that. And then, oh, sorry about the yawn. And then, you know, I don't have an example here, and I don't want to get the back of this all wet. So I won't do that. I won't show you. But that's pretty much paint. Let me see, what else can I say about paint? God, I have cat hair all over. Oh, cat hair. Perfect example. I have cat hair on my face right now. Gets in my beard. If you have a cat, it's, you know, it really wants to get in the paint. So acrylic paints dry really fast, which is an advantage if you have a cat. Keep them away from it. Keep it out of the... But if you're using oils, there's a good chance that hair is going to get in there eventually, because it takes longer to dry. Oil takes a long time to dry unless you have some kind of medium that like helps it dry faster, or because you can get that too, you know. And also with acrylics, you can get a medium, something you mix with the paint to help it dry slower. And another good rule of thumb is don't ever put more paint in the palette than you're going to use, right? And if you have extra paint in the palette, rather than trying to store it, make it come back to life later on, use it. Put it on something. If you have a bunch of extra blue, paint the edges of the painting. It's good to do the edges. Paint another canvas. Paint a background of another canvas. Use all the paint that you got, because you'll end up wasting so much paint. So only put as much as you're going to use, or like just dollop and then keep adding paint. Like don't put a whole dollop, don't go in the palette. Just go a little tiny little bit and then use that up. You know what I mean? And another trick is don't mix your colors in the palette. Mix them on the canvas in the way that you layer them. So say you want, you know, yellow and blue make green. So say you want something green, then just put some yellow right on the blue, and then those two colors mixed together will make that green. You know what I mean? Like work like that. That's just one way of doing it. You could try that. So mix while you're on the canvas and not in the palette. And that way your colors will stay more consistent, and they won't be like, you won't be trying to mix that same color again. You're like, how do I get that same color? It'll just be like direct colors straight on the canvas, but they'll be mixed on the canvas. That's another trick that I learned from just doing it so much. Is you just, you know, and then you add white to colors to do the different shades, like while it's on the canvas. And you can do that with black too. Like I learned that from digital art. If you just take a thin layer of black, you can add shadows to stuff instead of just trying to add black directly. You wash it out, you kind of thin it out, and you put black on there, and then it looks like a shadow. It's kind of opaque. But try layering, you know, with your paint, and instead of globbing it on when you go to paint. And you'll save paint, and you'll learn a technique that takes a lot of people a long time to figure out. Some people never figure that out. They just, you know, it looks cool. Brush strokes look cool, but when you change your mind about something, and you're like, wait, I want to go the other way, and then you do that, and there's a brush stroke going through your brush stroke, that's never fun. You're like, no. All right, hey, come over to Twitch. It's a great place. Come visit me. I'm over there all the time streaming. I'm probably streaming right now. Go check. It's in the description, I think. Look. I'll be back, and I'll paint more of this. When I come back, I'll talk about something else. Thank you for being here. And did I mention